in doing live devotions here this week during Holy Week. We're looking at the last 24 hours of Jesus. Today, we're going to look at the last moments of Jesus' life before the cross. I do wanted to say that. I was thinking about that this morning. We know that Jesus' life did not end, but he was resurrected and had many days, 40 days after his resurrection. And so this is before the cross, the last 24 hours before the cross, his death on the cross. And I want to read just the last moments as he died. In Luke chapter 23, verse 44 through 49. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3. Because the sun's light failed, the curtain of the sanctuary was split down the middle, and Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit." Saying this, he breathed his last. When the centurion saw what had happened, he began to glorify God, saying, "This man really was righteous." All the crowds that had gathered for this spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, went home striking their chests. But all who knew him, including the women who had followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance watching these things. I'm going to stop our reading right there. And these moments of Jesus' last breaths before he died, we learn a few things about what his death did for us. First, we see that it gives us access to God. If you notice at the beginning of the passage, it says, the curtain of the sanctuary was split down the middle. And it seems as though that all of creation was in mourning of the death of the Son of God. The lights went out, darkness went over the whole land. This was noon, but at 3, when Christ died, it says the curtain of the sanctuary was split down the middle. We read elsewhere in other Gospels that it actually was ripped from the top to the bottom. This shows this is a miraculous event because there's no way that anyone could have ripped the curtain from the top. It is a significant miracle and significant moment to teach us about Christ's death. Christ's death gives us access to God. See, in the temple, and the curtain that was mentioned there was the curtain that separated the most holy place, which was assumed to have the very presence of God. It was there that only a priest could enter once a year to spill the blood of a lamb for restitution and for forgiveness of the people's sins. But that all changed. When Jesus died on the cross, he who kept the law, he who was perfect, he who was sinless, the perfect Lamb of God, died on the cross as the perfect sacrifice. We see in this that now, because of this sacrifice, we have access to God. Hebrews talks that there is a matter of sacrifices of bloods and lambs, but it is Christ who gave the ultimate sacrifice of his life that gave us access to the Father. It is not that we have access through a priest, but now we are all a kingdom of priests. We are priests ourselves. Isn't it great to know that we, sinners, we humans, have access to God? The creator of the universe, the one who loves us, the one who has created us to worship him. It is because of Christ we now have direct access to God. You can pray right now where you are. We can call out and worship in our cars. We can call out and worship as we gather. We can come to God and be with him because of Christ on the cross. But it doesn't stop there. We see that Christ models our confession. At 3 in the afternoon, it says Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit." Saying this, he breathed his last. hear these words of Jesus, it must have rang to something, because the centurion there says this man was righteous. The people who were watching were struck. They went home beating their chests. Something happened as they watched Jesus die and saying these things. You see, their hearts were pierced because Christ modeled our confession that we truly, when we are born again and trust our spirits unto God, Jesus, as he breathed his last, said, I entrust you, God, with my life, knowing that what I did here is according to your will and according to your plan. Here's a great reminder to us that we who follow Jesus have entrusted our lives to God. And let me just say this for just a moment, that if you've never trusted Christ with your life, you can call out today and be saved. You can trust out or speak out and entrust your life to Christ by saying, God, I am a sinner and I am bound to death, but instead I trust in your Son, Jesus Christ, who lived, who died, and was resurrected. And in his sacrifice, in his life, is my only hope. And it is in him that I trust to be saved. You can call out today and trust your life to him for salvation. And those of us who are believers, we entrust our lives to Christ. And isn't it good to know this? That just like Christ, who was giving his last breath, he trusted God to hold him. What a great reminder to us that no matter our circumstances, we can declare, God, Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit. Is when those hands, it is in God's hands that we can entrust our lives. It is in those hands that we know he will never lose his grip on us. That we know that we can never, despite our circumstances, slip through the fingers of an omnipotent God. It is through those that we understand that there is no one can pluck us from our Father's hand. Isn't that good to know? That today, that every day, that if we have been born again, we are safe and trusted in our spirit in the hands of God, who cannot fail us. And this is what sustains us. No matter our circumstances, no matter what we do, we can entrust our lives to God, and he will hold us fast. What a great promise that we see on the cross. And as you gather in churches or online this weekend, we invite you to come and join our Easter service. You can join us here on wherever you're watching this video. We'll be going live at 10:30. We hope that you would join us. There'll be another a Bible reading tomorrow, a book reading tomorrow. But we hope that this weekend we truly celebrate a Christ who died, but a Christ who is risen. Thank you for joining us today.